All right, we're doing a TXV and filter dryer with Mr. Thompson today. So he's already got our hoses hooked up like normal. Okay, so we get our gauges hooked up like normal. We take a hose going directly from our recovery tank to the outlet on the recovery machine. And our yellow hose from our gauges goes to the inlet on the recovery machine. So from there, we open everything up on the gauges, recovery machine, recovery tank. The recovery tank is in a vacuum, so naturally it's just going to be pulling refrigerant out of the system. And while it's doing that, we'll go ahead and start to plug in our recovery machine. As it slows down, that's when I'll turn the recovery machine on, ramp it up. Alright, we are at 0 psi on the recovery machine, 0 psi on the gauges. So now we're going to shut off the inlet side. And we're going to purge whatever's in the system into the recovery tank. This off, shut our recovery tank off. Disconnect. And then from here, we'll go ahead and take our gauges off. And we take our shredders out. filter dryer and the TXV. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to start flowing nitrogen and do the filter dryer first. I don't want to put a new TXV in there and then do the filter dryer after, and then possibly get some soot, a little contamination into the new TXV. That'd be kind of pointless. So we will hook up our nitrogen. That hose. Oh, can you grab that hose? Thank you. Try and protect our service valve as much as possible, and just get a wet rag and kind of soak it a little bit. Tied it up. Tied it up. Thank you. Alright, thank you. So I'm just going to soak that service valve in wet rag. Right, so make sure that we're not overheating it. And that service valve in wet rag. Make sure that we're not overheating it. We got to get to this filter dryer. Alright, get to this filter dryer. Alright. So we're about to braise. We got our fire extinguisher, water source. So we're about to braise. We got our fire extinguisher. So before we do anything, water source size, and our wet rag. These vice grips to the proper size. I'm going to sweat this line off. These vice grips to the proper size without crimping. When I sweat this line off in the line, I can pull it off properly without crimping the line. First one off, and then I'll let you do the second one. I'll sweat the first one off, and then I'll let you do the other one. Alright, for our torches, we open up our oxygen all the way. For our torches, we open up our oxygen, our acetylene, we just all the way open. And we want, and then 10, our acetylene, and we just crack that one open. So on the oxygen side, and we want 10 and 5. We're right at 10 now. Side, we're a little high. Acetylene, we're a bit low. We're right at 10 now, and we're acetylene, we're a bit low, and we're right at 5. So acetylene up until we've got no soot, and then meter our oxygen in. Acetylene up until we've got no soot. That inch to 2 inch oxygen in inner blue flame. That inch to 2 inch inner blue flame. Oxygen off first, and then acetylene. Oxygen off first, and then acetylene. striker right there. Mr. Nick, you got your striker right there. So we got the filter dryer sweat off. So now we just got to clean up the lines, make sure they're nice and cool. Clean up the lines here. All right, so we cleaned up our fittings that we're going to be brazing on. Cleaned out the outside, and then we reamed out the inside. After I ream out the inside, I always take the nitrogen. We'll just clean up the lines like that, and then we'll blow a bit more through it. We'll make sure to ream just in case a little bit of shavings fell right on the inside of the lip or something like that. And then try and clear it out as much as possible. So we did that. And then now we got our filter dryer here. Cool. And just like last time, this one is a one direction flow. So I want the arrow going back to the evaporator. Can you get a couple of the white rags just damp? And so here I want to wrap my filter dryer in a cold wet rag, try and protect it as much as possible, and then I'm going to take some damp rags and put that over my service valve as well. Sir. Alright, I got my solder stick. I always bend just the end of it to make it a little easier for me. Flowing nitrogen still, always flow nitrogen while brazing. And my striker. Settling first, turn it up until we get most of the soot to stop. Meter in my oxygen at 1 to 2 inch blue flame, and we get to brazing. And something like this, I'm going to try and point the flame away from whatever I'm brazing if it's new. Compressor, filter dryer, TXV, whatever it is. I just don't want to burn a hole in it. So just like last time, I get it nice and hot, get a dab of solder on there, and just use that to move it all the way around. Alright, so I got the bottom side here. First go around, it wasn't sealed on the back bottom side, so I just added some more solder there. It's all sealed up. Ultimately, what I'm looking for is I don't want that hard lip to be there anymore. I want kind of like a smooth ramp going from your actual line to the joint. I want a smooth ramp going between the two. That's going to be your best weld. So Nick is going to get the top portion and we'll be good to go. That back side is being a little difficult, so we're gonna have to add some more solder and just get the back little lip, and the rest is good. All right, while we're letting that thing cool down, Nick and I were talking about what it looks like before you're about to blow a hole in the line. There's that fine line sometimes from getting it hot enough and then too hot. So we'll just see what it looks like here when you blow a hole in it. So you can see it start to change color. Right here is probably going to be a good time to solder. And there's our hole. So you got a little bit of time, but sometimes it does happen a little quick. It's tough with this wind. So it's changing color. Right there would be a good time to solder. It's getting red hot and there's a hole. Good time to solder. Good time to solder. And this one's taking a little longer. And there's our hole. So, on the suction line, it'll be a lot more apparent though. That whole line will get red hot, and then you'll start to form that hole. All right, so we had the filter dryer brazed in. So now we have the TXV to do. Move this plate out of the way as much as possible. This one's going to be a really easy one. It's actually a bolt-on. So you got this bolt up here, this bolt right underneath it, and then you got one more off to the side. So we'll start with the easiest one. Old one, it doesn't really matter, but the new one, you got to be very careful of all these little capillaries. That would really suck to break one of those, and then you're kind of stuck. Yeah. Ah. We ain't no soft irons around here. Alright. Use that, and then also our sensing bulb. You got your drill? Or just a 5/16 nut driver? I'll take that.
I think I left my nut driver in my van.
Drill will work then.
Yeah, I definitely have to drill.
You have the
Extension bit?
Yeah.
I know that I was using it earlier, and I totally left it on my couple. Take off a quarter board with a bunch of mastic tape on it, so it's super sticky. There we go.
Thank you, sir.
I do have one of these.
What? Oh. So not 5/16. I think it's just stripped out. Alright. And that is the TXV removal. Thank you. You can't really put this in wrong because the fittings only go one way. So that is a help. Alright, start with the bottom one. Come with a little clamp.
I think so, yeah. I was trying to.
Usually they can install
I was trying to get it open, but
Apparently not.
maybe that's supposed to be orange.
Yeah, they were.
Is that for mounting the bolt?
Well, that sucks. Cut. Yeah. Ah, that super sucks. Man. Not your fault. I should have checked.
At least we didn't like close it all up and go down.
This is true.
Pull it back in.
That one wasn't too bad. Don't forget the washers. Is that you? Alright. Now we're just about done.
What were you checking there?
It's calling for our sensing bulb to be on the outside of the coil.
Oh, okay.
So we just got to make sure that it's insulated and everything still, but it is going to be on the outside.
Okay.
Where's that clamp at? Thank you. All right. And then from here, before we close everything up, we'll pressure test it and make sure that we got no leaks. So back at the condenser, we just hooked up the TXV, and now we're gonna pressure test the system. So we're gonna take our red and blue hoses, hook those up like normal. Still no Schrader cores in the system because we're gonna have to let out all this nitrogen once we've tested it. So red and blue hook up to high and low side. My yellow hooks up to my nitrogen, and we're going to pressure test it. And we want to see it get up to around 250 psi on the gauges, and then we want to hold that for about 15 to 20 minutes. All right, we've made it to 250. So now I'm going to close off the red and the blue on the gauges. You're going to leave the actual valves open on the system. Leave them open, nice and tight. We're going to let it settle, and it's going to settle right at about 250. So I'll set my timer 15 to 20 minutes, and as long as it's not dropping, we'll release the nitrogen and finish it up. So while we're waiting for the pressure test to make sure that no leaks or anything like that, it's always good to start cleaning up. Just a good use of time. If you're super confident on your welds, then you take back your tanks. If you're not confident enough, then maybe leave your tanks there. We took our tanks away because I'm pretty confident that we got no leaks. So we just gotta wait about 10 more minutes, and then we'll go from there. All right, so we pressure tested for 15 minutes, and we're still at 250, so we're looking good there. So I'm going to shut off the nitrogen, and I'm just going to release all of it. So from here, we'll put new Schraders in, and then we'll hook up the vacuum. So from here, we'll put in our new Schraders. Schraders are good, and then we'll hook up our gauges like normal again. So red's going to be open, well, blue's going to be open, red's going to be open, yellow is closed, and our vacuum hose is open. We got 4 ports today, so it looks up just a little different. Grab our vacuum. Nope. And now with the vacuum, it's super important to make sure things that need to be closed are closed. All of your hoses are nice and tight. If they're not, you got these old cracked hoses, failing seals, things like that. Your vacuum is not going to work and it'll take forever. So make sure everything's nice and tight. From there, we'll turn our vacuum on. And again, this one has the built-in micron gauge. If you did not have that, you would have a micron gauge somewhere in the line here between the pump and the gauges. And we want the microns to drop all the way down to 500. And we start at probably like 50,000. And it just rapidly drops. So we'll leave this. This one's pretty quick, should be about 20-30 minutes. And in this meantime, we'll go ahead and close up the coil. We know there's no leaks. So we'll close up the coil, get that nice and squared away, and then after this is done, we'll end up charging it, and that should be it. So one side note, you probably saw when we were up there doing the TXV, I bolted it on, super confident, and then I noticed that the washers were not in there, so I had to unbolt it, put the washers in, and go from there. So sometimes the washers will already be installed on the new TXV, which is what I thought happened, but they were not, so you'll get possibly a little plastic washer, and this just goes inside the fittings on the TXV. This is kind of what just seals it up nice and neat. So make sure that you are replacing them. You don't want to leave the old ones in there. So that's done, and then it took about 20 minutes and we are down to 467. So we'll stop this vacuum here in a minute and get some charging. Okay, so we're ready to finish this up. We're down to 430 microns, so we're looking good. First thing I want to do before I shut off the vacuum or anything is shut off all of my valves. It would suck to turn this vacuum off and now I lose my entire vacuum. It only took 20 minutes, but it would still suck and be a huge waste of time. So I'm shutting off all of my valves. Okay, at the hoses, at the gauges, everything is shut off. And after that, that's when I'll come over to the vacuum and then I'll go ahead and turn it off and disconnect. And then from here, I'm going to take my yellow hose and we're going to start charging. So hook up the yellow hose, shut off the valve, open the tank, get it on somewhat of a flat surface, flip the tank upside down, open the yellow valve, zero the tank or the scale out, and then because the system is in a vacuum, just like the recovery tank was in a vacuum, we're just going to open up the blue side and let it charge itself. The system holds 8 pounds, so I'm going to let it, if it can, I'm going to let it charge itself to about 7.5 pounds before I even turn it on. And then at that point, I'll turn it on, and then we will just charge like normal according to subcool, and that is it. So pretty simple stuff, not too bad. So good to go.